The Unstuff America podcast is hosted by the most organized man in America, Andrew Mellen. Listen in for Andrew's take on America's clutter crisis. From guns to gold, he dives deep into America's self-destructive obsession with possession and how that impacts the American dream. Get real-life tools and strategies to take responsibility, set yourself free, and live your values every day. And now, Andrew Mellen.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Unstuff America. I'm so excited for today's guest to introduce her to you and share her wisdom and big-heartedness with everybody. We have Sensei Victoria Whitfield with us today. Sensei Whitfield helps entrepreneurs heal while they ride the emotional roller coaster of abundant business ownership. Sensei Victoria, welcome to Unstuff America.
Such a pleasure to be here with you, Andrew. Yay.
Thanks, Victoria. So tell us a little bit about yourself. I mean, that's the thumbnail sketch, but really, what do you do for work? What's your home life like? Do you live alone or with other people? Just give us a very short thumbnail sketch of what the life of Victoria Whitfield is like.
Oh my gosh, so it's changed so much within the last few years, but how things are going now is last year I published my first book, and I travel often nationally and internationally training different teams at organizations how to really ground and clear themselves emotionally so that they can have better communication, not just at work, but also in their lives at large. So I'm kind of like a spiritual consultant for organizations.
Excellent. And what about home life? I mean, so do you live alone? Do you live with other people? What's the stuff, the physical stuff of your life look like?
Yeah. So on the personal level, years ago when I decided to, instead of continue in my corporate track, I sat down with my mother and said, I really believe I found my purpose and I want to start a business, but I don't want to live alone. I personally, as a single woman, I love living in community with others, but I personally want to only live with someone that I love. And my mom is another single woman, so I rent space from her, and I get the honor of waking up, seeing her beautiful face every day, and our cat screaming at us.
Excellent. All right. So your mom, so she's beautiful, and she lives with you, and her health is good. I mean, her stuff is not becoming your stuff yet, right? That's
right. So her health, she's very gung-ho health. She's an herbalist and she has a lot of stuff, dried herbs and so many different ball jars, and I'm kind of handy, so I've built her cabinets and different storage all over the house to contain her stuff. I keep my stuff within my room and one other area in the home, and the rest she rules the roost as she should.
Excellent. Great. Well, that's good. So, so what inspires you? What are you really passionate about?
Mm-hmm. What I'm really, really passionate about is emotional health. First, for myself is where my own passion has come. I do have, unfortunately, a history of personal trauma. That's why I'm passionate about emotional health. You know, it might sound a bit dry to be passionate about that, but if you've been through some things that have been difficult in life, it sensitizes you to it. Mm-hmm. And so that's my drive, to help others with that as well, but it stems from a deep well of personal development first. But yeah, that's what I'm the most passionate about, is emotional health in others, but myself first.
Excellent. And what really upsets you? What pisses you off?
Oh, yay. Oh my goodness. So what I can't stand is people who are constantly performing. So the one half of my family is all musicians, like from my father's side, long line of musicians. My father's African American. my mother's Caucasian American. They're both mixed within their colors, and I came out all deliciously cocoa colored because of the two of them. And on my mother's side, there's the waspy money performance. And I cannot stand when people can't seem to to break the character of everything's fine, or yeah, or I'm the center of the show and I'm the diva, and I'm gonna create drama wherever I go. I can't stand people who cannot let go of the performance. I see it all the time, especially now because of my line of work. It's so hard for people to be able to let go of, well, this is the mask that I'm supposed to portray, right? What's going on behind the mask doesn't matter because here's the mask. Look at this. For me, it creates such a guttural reaction, but that fuels me. I love my anger. I used to be afraid of it. But I love that it pisses me off.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's certainly in my personal experience and in my professional life, getting upset about things is often fuel to get me into action. It is not, I have found for myself, it's not sustainable. It burns hot and then it crashes quickly. So I can't often stay there and actually be productive and effective in the way I want to be, but it certainly gets me out of my chair. Then I need some deeper well of shifting compassion, engagement to sustain it, because otherwise I just yell and scream and then I want to take a nap and have a snack. So not very effective. I mean, it moves something through my body, but it doesn't actually affect a lot of change. I mean, physical change in that energy is racing through my body, but nothing moves. And I certainly know that for a lot of the people, I think, who are listening today and who follow me, I don't love the expression follow me, but who are interested in unstuffing their lives and so come towards me in the search for information and material and support, that often they are stuck pre-anger. I mean, they're just in sadness and sorrow and grief and frustration and overwhelm. So, I mean, anger would at least light a fire under their butts and get them engaged. And then on the other side of that, how do we, Newton's second law of entropy, a body in motion tends to stay in motion. How do we keep them active so that they're not just either ripping shit apart, throwing stuff around, creating more chaos, I mean, it feels like there's movement again, right? I mean, I'm doing something. Well, okay, but I don't think that you're really doing what you want to be doing. I think you're just creating a new form of chaos. The old form of chaos was piles and mounds of things, and now it's new chaos because you're ripping through stuff, but you don't really know what you're doing. So you're just making a mess. And then when you confront the new mess, you're going to have some sadness around, oh, I think I've made a bigger pickle for myself, right? So it's one of those interesting things, I think, in the evolution of mindfulness, of awakening oneself, that passivity moves possibly to anger, engagement. I want to assert myself and participate in the world. I'm tired of being passive.
Yes.
Now, how do I sustain that and actually be effective, as opposed to just churning up energy, which in the moment, again, might feel better because you're doing something, but you can't live there.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. The way that you summarized that was absolutely delicious. That was delicious. Tasted so good. And with that, the awakening has got to come first. So I know for me, I grew up with one of my parents who was an angry person. And with respect to them, I won't say who. Just really stuck in the rage cycle, right? And that's because I don't feel heard, right? Is why we're raging, or I don't feel powerful. unless like I'm unleashing and instilling fear in order to motivate others around us. And since then, this person has really subdued and healed, which I'm super grateful for. But for myself, the growing up in that sort of an environment then is the opposite. Like I oriented myself to be in rebellion, and some of your listeners or watchers, etc., may be this person where, well, I'm going to be the placater, or I'm always going to calm everybody, or nothing's a problem.
Right.
Nothing. Just calm down. There's nothing. To myself first, of course. That emotion, shut it down.
Right.
Right. And so, for me, the being at a point of loving my anger is my own personal revolution.
Right.
Where I understand that instead, anger is one of the many emotional tools that I have in this toolbox that can help me carve and build a life by design that's fully actualized and fully alive. I'm living the wholeness of my emotional range, rather than experiencing, if I were a piano, as Regina Thomasauer usually says, if I were piano playing anywhere between an octave of middle C,
Right.
rather than going all 88 keys and riding my life till the wheels fall off.
Yes.
So
Beautiful.
for me, the anger is the awakening part, and it's safe, or we have to create an environment where acknowledging what pisses us off is safe and good and positive. But anger in and of herself is fire, right? So if we just go ahead and start lighting things on fire without there being some sort of a container to respect the power of this element that you just activated, it'll consume everything naturally. That's what fire does. But if you have a flamethrower, or if you have a candle, if you have a light bulb or campfire, right, etc.,
Mm-hmm.
to harness and respect the power, instead it becomes an extremely powerful tool, and that makes it more sustainable. It's a form of, the phrase that drops in for me right now is emotional engineering, where the engineering around the fire respects that natural resource, and then we can make it work, right? Rather than just lighting things on fire, as you're saying, and watching everything burn. As satisfying as that can be.
In a moment, right.
Yeah.
I mean, the long-term effects are not always what you want.
Exactly.
All right. So on a scale from 1 to 10, with that in mind, 1 being the least organized and 10 being completely organized, where would you place yourself?
Oh my goodness. So myself, immediately as you ask that question, I think of, okay, which room is he talking about? Some rooms are like, they're at an 8. They're fabulous. And then there are other rooms, ooh, that's a 3 or a 4. So I think to average that out, I'll put myself overall at a 6.
Okay. Very good.
I look forward to improving my organization. Yeah.
Okay. So those rooms that are an 8 and the rooms that are a 3. So talk to me just about your relationship with organization. Did you grow up as an organized child? What's your experience around organization, and why are some rooms tidy and other rooms less so? Because I think that's, I'm probably a 9 or a 9.5, but this is what I do for a living, right? I'm supposedly the most organized man in America. So, I mean, there's a high bar to keep up with there. But for the average person who's trying to create greater order in their life, it is a spectrum. Again, it's few things are black and white, all or nothing in that way of, and then frozen in time, right? I mean, you're an 8, you'll always be an 8, right? That there aren't rooms that are 3s, or closets that are 4s, or 2s, or drawers that are 1s. So God forbid, but that idea that it's a process rather than something that's locked in and frozen in time. So just tell us a little bit about your relationship with organization,
Mm-hmm.
please.
So my relationship with organization is very emotional. And so as a child, the few memories that I have, by the way, I lost most of my memory because of a trauma that I experienced at age 8. So from 8 back, it's a little bit blurry, but I've done a lot of work to remember as best I can. Some of the visions that I remember were piles and piles just of stuff and toys and bags. And this was emotional padding. Like, this is my, if I'm Superman, my fortress of solitude. This is a fortress of crap, basically. So in childhood, that was more of the emotional padding, being able to hide behind or underneath so many piles. But since then, as I've been more on my personal healing journey, I've regularly declutter. I regularly donate clothes. And for my level of organization now, as I think for my bedroom, for example, that's where I have the most creative expression, but everything is within different open, like I don't like doors, but open shelves that are stacked and placed nicely for me, because I'm a visual organizer. That's why I need to see things personally. I'm the type of person that as soon as I wake up, I always make my bed. And I have certain routines of the way that I take care of myself. My office, there is never anything on the floor unless I'm sitting on the floor. But other than that, I have people place their purses into cubbies. When I'm being more creative, sometimes I'll spread out, but I know I have an emotional reaction to seeing that if I'm not being actively creative, I have to put it away. So for me, what matters most is how I feel. Like, I put how I feel an extremely high level of importance. So for me, the way that I've learned to stay my version of organized, although it is absolutely nowhere near perfect, but it's functional, is by organizing according to where's my creativity cycle at, and also respecting how organized I am as a reflection of, this is going to help me feel less stressful, or this is going to relieve my anxiety. Coming home to like my room orderly, or leaving my office, making sure that everything is set and ready to be walked in on the next day, etc. This, for me, my relationship with organization is very based on emotion and feeling, because I've learned more of my behavioral patterns organized around stress management.
This, I want to, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want to,
Sure.
this is, I think, an important point to make, because I think a lot of people who are dealing with stuff, with clutter, disorganization, are also very focused on their feelings. And yet they are those feelings of overwhelm, of being burdened, of feeling trapped. And it's interesting. So I think there's a great fix here for folks around emotional regulation, which is what you're talking about, as I hear it, that you're also very focused on your feelings, but taking care of yourself in a way that making the choices that support stress reduction, happiness, ease, peace, serenity, as opposed to these deferral behaviors that
Yes.
then impact your emotional well-being. So it's an interesting thing, right? I mean, that's the elusive sense of comfort which drives so many people, right? It's a fantasy comfort. It's, by not doing this, I will be comfortable because it's going to stress me out, or it's going to take me outside of my comfort zone. I'm making air quotes for those of you who are listening and not watching. And so we've got this artificial concept of comfort that we're driving towards. So I don't want anything to rock the boat of comfort. But what I'm actually doing is making choices that are keeping crap around me, and in the macro, upsetting me and stressing, like freaking out my adrenal system, because I'm constantly under attack from all the crap that's around me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say funny, I don't mean amusing, but peculiar, notable thing that for the folks who are so focused on their feelings but somehow trapped in stuff, how do we shift them into a more self-care feeling focus so that the stress reduction is what's going to drive you to, and I mean, I think about it in a possibly more analytical way around living your values, which aren't not tied to your feelings, but still that it's values based, that it doesn't matter really how you feel in the moment, right? If what you want to do is be a person of integrity and be kind and generous and available to the people around you, what are the choices you need to make to live that rather than hiding out in a retracted, unavailable place because that feels more comfortable in the moment, but actually doesn't allow you to do anything that you say actually matters to you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm going with this. It feels like there's a tremendous opportunity here to shift a mindset and a behavior around for the people who like their feelings, right? I mean, this is a different way to have your feelings and honor them and still get the crap out of your way.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And so what shifted for me as a feeling type person was how I make decisions. I changed the blueprint behind how I make decisions.
Tell us.
And with that, it's okay. In every decision that I make, do I want to be comfortable or do I want to be clear?
Excellent.
And when I tended towards more clarity, my feelings improved. So it's one thing to create comfort behind the illusion and the mask of fear, procrastination, deferral, right, avoidance, and all of that. And it's different to make a clear decision or a decision that creates clarity, such as clearing your desk, for example, and to see the feelings that come after. Oh, I do feel better. I feel more comfortable. I feel more relaxed. I feel more fulfilled. I feel proud of myself. I feel self-nurturing in this clarity-based decision. So for me, that blueprint, that fork in the road, really came of, okay, am I a person who makes decisions that are for comfort or for clarity? Ever since I shifted that blueprint, so much has changed. I mean, definitely in the way that I organize myself and approach decisions on organizing in different areas, not just physical areas, but areas of my life.
Sure.
The value of clarity gives me the courage to make decisions that support me feeling better at a whole different vibration. I used to be in fear and holding in that, just like the rage cycle that we can get into where we think that's the only way of, like when we were talking before, this is the only way I'm going to be heard is by raging around or dramaing and etc. If those are verbs.
Right. They are now.
Yeah. So with that, for me, getting out of just creating the comfort box, because I had to get clear on, I'm creating this comfort box because I'm just scared of what's outside of this comfort box that I've created. So being a pack rat before, the comfort box that I lived in there was, well, there's all this stuff and I know all of these toys. And I remember when I got this, or I used to have tons of dried roses. And I remember when I got these roses from this person, also, let alone the fact that it accrues dust or mold or hair and all.
Feng shui too. And I'm not a huge feng shui person, but I know that one of the things is dried dead plants and flowers, bad feng shui. So
absolutely. And it's interesting that you mentioned feng shui, because that learning about the psychology of environment, like how you can read yourself in the way that your environment is around you. For me personally, learning about feng shui really helped to sustain the fire of shifting my blueprint of decision making. Having that education cycle. So okay, yeah, we have the breakthrough, we have the blow up, right? If I am embracing anger now, dun, 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 right? If we have the blow up, what sustains us afterward? It's got to be education. And there's the wisdom of others, right, who've gone before us, who have been gracious enough to leave behind different blueprints and patterns for how things are done, or the wisdom of those in our community who want to give back, who want to volunteer, who want to support others who are making a transformation. Going for your education on how can I sustain this different level, this new level of living, I believe, is after you have your moment where you're deciding to put your stake in the ground and say, no more, I'm getting clear, or I'm going to tell you what I really think. This actually pisses me off, and I'm going to give myself permission. For me, that's like a personal revolution, being able to do that as a minimizer.
This leads us to Unstuff America. This is perfect. So let's talk about, when you hear the expression Unstuff America, what does that mean to you? I mean, since we're talking about the personal awakening, then allowing you, and the idea that people have left breadcrumbs, or blueprints, even better than breadcrumbs, right, of ways to transform the self and then engage more in community, whatever that means to you. Talk to me about Unstuff America. When you first heard that, what did that prompt for you?
Well, it was an immediate yes. So there's that. That was my guttural reaction, was yes. And after that, what Unstuff America means to me is, first and foremost, an acknowledgement of how overfilled, how do we say, overstuff. I mean, there's so much that we've padded and covered ourselves in. There's too much. We've been completely overexposed to food, media, commercialism, all of there's so many items that we're stuffed to the max. Our bodies are showing it. For me, like, I started going down more of a physical route, and I thought how obesity is an epidemic in this country, and that's like it's a first world problem, and well, we've got it. And so for me, Unstuffing America would mean that removing these pads of protection, I projected onto that, honestly.
Go.
So removing the pads of protection that we've put around us between really being honest and open and communicative and connected, first within ourselves, right? Really owning up to our own healing journey, but then also with others, which is a whole nother level of courage. Like, it's a certain level of courage to do that within, and then it's another to do that without. And then I love the political point of view that you have, where not just between each other interpersonally, but now in the way of governance and unstuffing governance. In a previous life, within this lifetime, I used to be a medical billing and coding manager. So this is more of my corporate experience. And sitting on the phone with Medicare for about a good 5 hours a day, and the red tape, and then the people that are just so shut down throughout the insurance industry. And it's a giant game that if you just learn how to press this button, tons of money comes out, and it's gross. That's another thing that I feel very strongly about. But our government herself is so extremely disorganized and stuff, that in order for the people to connect and share what we need with her, it's again another level of courage that we have to move through and sift through and clear through. So this unstuffing of America, I've seen it in different levels personally, starting within the body, going all the way out to the government. And it's really just confronting the fear box, right? The box that we've created to protect us against that which we're afraid of or might appear uncomfortable. But are we deciding to make decisions? Are we making decisions based on I'm increasing my comfort or I'm increasing my clarity in life?
Yeah.
If we're going for clarity,
I vote for clarity, certainly.
yeah.
I mean, I think that's
Mm-hmm.
that was beautiful. Thank you for sharing that with us. It is yeah, it's disturbing to me. Obviously, this is why I created this platform, because I feel like so many of the choices that we make are about this illusory sense of comfort, as if we can avoid the big issues, whether that's sexism, racism, classism, all of the things that divide us and keep us in this tug of war around resources and accessibility and actual human safety, that and access to participating and being seen and feeling safe in your neighborhood, on a street, anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
You know, your neighborhood, anybody's neighborhood, Anytown, USA. That idea that that we, through unconscious reactivity, we've built a system that doesn't support us in a fundamental way. And because I am a cynical optimist, or an optimistic cynic, I believe that change can happen, right? I mean, I don't think that it's so far gone that we can't. I mean, even with whatever some of the scientific predictions around climate change are, like, we've crossed the line. There's nothing, we're all just going to drown in the ocean as it raises above sea level. And I mean, that may happen. And still, we're here today. So what can we do today, right? I mean, I'm not interested in resigning and just saying, well, screw it, I guess we're just going to have to live with the consequences, right? I mean, at any moment we can affect change in a direction. And for me, certainly, our ability to engage or re-engage and shape the world in the ways that we want to see it, and certainly from my point of view, one that is more open, transparent, honest, compassionate, kind, generous. There's plenty for everybody there, unless we get into a hoarding, weird situation where people are making choices based on fear. I mean, you're here for a limited period of time. There's only so much you can eat, drink, smoke, wear, have sex with, live inside of. At some point, enough is enough. And I don't necessarily need the government to determine what that is. I think if you have any sense of clarity and perspective, it's pretty clear what enough is. And
well, I just wanted to jump in there because as I'm witnessing all this beautiful intention of the kindness, the ability to move forward, et cetera, that you're expressing, I'm sensitized to the fact that this comes from a belief that you have the power. You have the power at any given point in time to change your mind, to change your life, to change the course of things. That I get the chills as I say that to you. Having that as a belief in and of itself is the seed of revolution. So for those of you who are listening and watching us, riff and love on each other and love on you, please know that right now you have the power. There's things that can happen in life, and I'm speaking to you from my heart, from the base of my stomach. As I invoke this, there are awful things that can happen in life, traumas, losing loved ones, disasters, whether natural or unnatural, just mean or really bad people. There's so many awful things that can happen that would convince us, right? And I'm pointing to the hindbrain back here, that would convince us on a subconscious level that you are essentially powerless. And that is a lie.
It is definitely a lie. Yes, you are infinitely powerful. Whoever's listening to this, you are infinitely powerful to affect change in your own personal life, in your personal environment, certainly when it comes to stuff, clutter, disorganization, time management, and then beyond your home, right? I mean, if you're unhappy with the books that your kids are being allowed to read or not allowed to read at the school board, if you're upset about how your municipal government is dealing with recycling and green policies, if you're upset about the way the county or the state is legislating access to health care, if you're upset about the way the federal government is talking about health care or taxes or anything, you have the ability to affect change. It might be a deeply compromised, ineffective system. It is still a system and you still have agency. And it is essential that you know that, tap into that deep in your gut and hold on to that nobody can take that away from you. I mean, far beyond the Declaration of Independence and the Bill of Rights, you don't need Thomas Jefferson or John Adams to tell you that you have certain inalienable rights. Those are yours. I mean, you're here on the planet for as long as you're here. You have agency to affect change. And as you have shared with us, Victoria, and certainly, I mean, my own personal life, I know what it's like to be powerless, and I know what it's like to assert agency and shift things in the way that you want to see them happen. And I'm not always happy. I don't always get what I want. Sometimes that's actually a blessing. And still, I get to participate in the way that I want to, and I get to make mistakes, and I get to have successes. And all of that is the process of being on the planet and breathing and being sentient. So everybody is allowed to do that. And in fact, you were built to do it.
That's right.
So not doing it is, I mean, imagine the energy that you're exerting daily on yourself to prevent yourself from having agency, regardless of what's happening outside of you, right? I mean, regardless of, again, all of those isms that might be at play that are trying to dismantle your agency, what are you doing that's enabling that to have more influence over you than it normally would outside of your home? You can throw off those shackles immediately. You do not need to be bound by any of that. That's a simple, not always easy, but a simple mindset shift that's available to you. So
absolutely. Change can happen in an instant because you made the decision right then and there. All right, I do have power. I'm going to claim it. And when you do, it rushes back to you. So this is the thing about comfort, as another thing that I learned when I was shifting my blueprint. The desire for comfort or these uncomfortable feelings, I understand I was having them on purpose, right? The discomfort that I have, or the things that annoy me or that I'm complaining about, etc., that's energy for me. That's a tool that's there for me to use. The energy is the capacity for work, by the way, by definition. So the energy that I'm having, or the emotion that I'm having, or discomfort or dis-ease, or I could funnel it into the act of complaining and maintaining, or I could take that energy and funnel it into the act of revolutionizing, shifting, and changing things, right? It's up to you what you decide to use that energy with. But please know that you do have power. This is, you're not just feeling these things for no reason, or that this is just the way things happen. And you're having that feeling because every single moment you have that choice. It's like, okay, are you going to use this or are you going to maintain it? So, yeah.
Excellent. So as we wrap up, any last thoughts, anything you want to share with us, the fellow Unstuffers, as we wind down? It's been great having this conversation with you. I just want to give you a last platform, and also let everybody know where they can find out more about you and your work, and the things that are going on in your professional life that you want to share with folks.
Oh, yay, thank you. So, well, I always, my number one value in life is love. permeates everything that I do, everything that I am, everyone that I attract into my life, including you, Andrew. Mwah, I'm so grateful to be connected with you. And so, where I would want to leave people with, other than an invitation to come and claim their free MP3 over at my website, naturalintuition.com. There's a healing meditation there. For those of you where you're still processing how you feel, you could really use some grounding. Go ahead and hop over there at naturalintuition.com. But I would want to land this in a space of love. Every revolution, every decision that you experience in your life, let it stem from a place of love. Let the decision to let that bag of stuff go, right? Or to let that person go. Let it stem from a place that is from love. Every time that you want to write your council members, or if you want to shift something in the governing body, or if you need to go on camera, right, to defend yourself or others, let it come from a place of love. Let go of fear. Fear is not sufficient. It's not enough energy for what you're here to create, whether you're under the sound of my voice, or I can look you in the eye right now as you're watching this. Let your next big leap, your next courageous decision come from a place of love. You're born from love. You can find it. I know there's some of you who are listening right now saying, this is ridiculous. No, I can't find a loving placing, but I'm holding positive expectation and belief in the fact that you are listening to this right now, that yes, you are capable of coming from love, regardless of the situation. That is a well of energy and resource that'll give you the sustenance, the nourishment that you need to make it through.
What a perfect way to wrap up. Thank you so much, Sensei Victoria, for sharing your wisdom, big-hearted love fest with us all here at Unstuff America. You can find out more about Victoria at, again,
naturalintuition.com.
And of course, you find more episodes here at Unstuff America and andrewmellen.com. Thanks for a great session. I'll look forward to seeing everybody back here for another session of Unstuff America. And Sensei, you rock.
Thanks for listening to Unstuff America. If you like the podcast, the best compliment you can give us is to share it with a friend and subscribe, rate, and review at iTunes.